We continue to follow breaking news right now out of Yuba County. A water rescue took place, or reportedly taking place, after a pipe burst at the Colgate Powerhouse. And you could hear Live Copter 3 pilot Dan Oppenheim. They're about 3,500 feet in elevation as they're flying above this, so he has to keep in constant contact. But Dan, chime in when you are available to talk to us. You can see the mud that has come down and kind of created a landslide after this pipe burst. And then, Edie, you can see the power lines that were affected when that pipe burst and all that water came pouring out of this powerhouse. They even had to rescue some employees.
Yeah, you can certainly see that there was, just a pretty catastrophic event right in that local area, taking out those power lines. Our crews in the newsroom were double checking power outages in that region, and they're saying there are quite a few people are without power right now, and you can certainly see why. We can also tell you that water flows downstream from here would be higher than normal. Those would have come up probably very suddenly for people downstream, so that's another thing to watch for.
And Edie, as we were talking about, we were wanting to confirm that this is indeed the Yuba River, and it is the Yuba River. Dirk was confirming that for us, and you could see, as you said, those water levels would go up because all of it just burst out of this huge tube, this huge pipe that they have coming down that's supposed to empty in a nice orderly fashion, but of course that didn't happen. So you've got all this mud sliding down the side, and we were told they had to even rescue people. Hopefully everyone was rescued. No injuries have been reported at this time, but that's a lot of water, and it looks like it's even, Edie, taken away some of the asphalt possibly, because see how jagged that is right there. We don't know if it was always like that or if that's just starting to happen now, but there's a lot of damage that's been done.
And you can see crews down there. I'm assuming here that they're trying to make some early assessments as best they can. These things, as anyone would know who's had any kind of pipe burst, when that happens, it is so sudden and there is a lot of force coming through. And so, yeah, it's great news that there are no injuries reported. So some people were rescued, and then everyone else, as they were able to get word out, were evacuated. But you can see the breach right there.
Yeah, and this, just to give you more background on the Yuba Water Agency in general, it operates, it owns a lot of facilities with the capacity to store about 1 million acre-feet of water, and then they generate more than 400 megawatts of hydropower. And each year, this agency releases more than 260,000 acre-feet of water to 8 different irrigation districts, and then that takes that water to local farmers, local ranchers that are in Yuba County. So this plays a vital role to a lot of different people, not to mention all of the power, the electricity, and we're still trying to get a good number on the power outages that we're seeing to customers, because initially we were seeing quite a lot. But just from this vantage point, I don't know if Dan Oppenheim's ready to talk to us yet, but I mean, you could just see how much damage has been done because that huge pipe has been broken in several places. And then you've got the breach underneath it, on the side of it, and all of that mud and a little bit of a landslide that goes all the way down. This is not where this water is supposed to be flowing.
Right, and that landslide could further, be a problem for the pipeline itself and perhaps compromise it in other areas. Just for a little bit of perspective here, this happened at about 3:13 this afternoon. So at this point, so that's what we're talking about right there. You can see another break in that pipeline. But yeah, so it's been about an hour and a half now. That since this initial, shock of the disaster first happening, and now the water still moving through, and crews now coming back in to make some assessments.
And so maybe we could get to Live Copter 3 pilot Dan Oppenheim, because he's been there longer than we have and has a really great bird's eye view. Dan, can you hear us? Are you ready to talk with us yet? Is it safe for you to speak with us? If not, it's okay.
Yes, it is safe. Sorry about that. I had to coordinate with some of the other rescue aircraft that are both on scene and also arriving. There is quite a response. It is happening real time. Just from our perspective, it is an amazing amount of force that you can see coming through, but it looks like most of the damage is caused not necessarily by the water, but by erosion causing mudslides and landslides coming down these gullies that we're showing. As you can see, just to the left of where the break is, there's quite a bit of erosion, and obviously that material, that earth that was displaced, had to go somewhere. It went down. all the way at the bottom, you can see the damage caused to the infrastructure. And like I said, it does seem as though most of that was caused by sliding mud and debris, rocks, trees, and so on, and not necessarily just by the water.
Yeah, and did you see a dramatic decrease or increase in the water levels?
The water level seems to be fairly consistent. It doesn't seem like there's been a dramatic increase, although there has obviously been some increase. What really stands out is the sediment. If you look, you can see that in this section it is a dark, muddy brown color, but if you go just upstream a tiny bit, it's back to its normal green, bluish color that we would expect. So that's a dramatic change.
Well, one thing that you really keep an eye on with something like this is if you've got a whole lot of mud and sediment moving into what is normally a water channel, and now we've got a storm, a big storm coming in, whether, the water flow is going to be able to move as it should with this incoming system. With that in mind, Dan, if we can keep you just on standby for a second, I'd like to bring in Dirk, because I know, Dirk, you've been also looking at the water levels along the river, and it's maybe not what people expected.
Yeah, it could influence the levels a little bit, but I think what's interesting is you can see that where the damage was to that power infrastructure there, you have a lot of that, the network of iron that's been totally, or steel that's been ripped apart. So there must have been, when there was the initial break, a big gush of water that came through, and that's what caused, more than likely, all that damage. I mean, it looks like something came through and was just pulling it apart. And the question that I have is I'm just curious how much the flow has decreased. It looks like it's decreased a lot, considering how much damage was done originally here. You can see with the buildings, as well as that infrastructure with the power equipment, or the cabling and the structures that hold the cables that are there. And then also looking at the pipe itself and all of the erosion that took place, that came with a pretty good gush. And since then, I mean, if I were to just kind of guess here, it looks like they've been able to at least slow down, if not stop, the main gush of water. We're just kind of seeing some residuals making its way down the mountain, because to cause that kind of erosion there was much more water flowing through and around that pipe earlier. And you can see now, yeah, there's still some erosion, but look at all of that was just pulled away from the surface. All of that topsoil, all of that rock has been moved. It's created the pipe itself to kind of be broken. I mean, it's almost like a toy set that you have there, but this is not. This is a huge pipe that's been moved around because of the lack of soil that was holding it up. And so a lot of water came through, it looks like, at a moment there, and did a lot of damage, and now we're still seeing that flow through, but it looks like it is kind of tapering off.
Dirk, thank you. And speaking of that damage, I think we've got an outage map ready to show you. So part of that damage was a series of power lines and power line structures that were basically washed out when that mud started moving, the ground started moving, and you can see the result. Also, we should mention, I mean, we are talking about a powerhouse here. Part of what it's doing is generating power. This particular new Colgate powerhouse has turbines that can produce enough electricity for about 350,000 homes. But that's not what's causing this right now. This is, we're assuming, from the power lines that were washed out.
Absolutely. And it's a little eerie, Edie, because we are coming up on the 40th anniversary of when the levee broke along the Yuba River. That failed back on February 20th of 1986. That flooded roughly 30 square miles. So, this was part of the solution for all of that. Now we're almost, getting to that 40th anniversary again. And we're seeing, what happens when that tunnel, that big pipe bursts, all that water coming down, a lot of it is mud. And as Dan was saying, it's not so much the water as it is all of the debris that's coming with the mud in that landslide. So the latest count in terms of customers, how many customers are without power right now? 11,000, 12, yeah, it was 12,000. I think we're at 11,000 we're hearing. And you can see why. I mean, that looks like a lot of electrical equipment that looks like that could be part of, what supplies power to customers, and, which is why, as you said, this is what this powerhouse is used for, to generate all of that power and get it out to all of those customers. But right now it is demolished.
And I think it's important to note, as we're talking about that anniversary, that the threat here is not the widespread flooding. It is the damage right around this structure. And we're really seeing, again, the earth moving, a lot of mud moving, in addition to that water. Let's check back in with Dirk.
This goes into the Yuba River that at this point flows into Englebright Lake, and so that's going to be a stop there. So you're not going to see it go any further than that lake. And I think between here and the lake, there are some areas, there's some recreation areas. And again, I think we see the initial pulse of water as it came down. We may see some rises, but I think for the most part, I don't think that's going to be as much of an issue as just the damage that's been caused by the initial big push of water that made its way down that mountain and did so much damage of breaking up that pipeline and that infrastructure, that power grid infrastructure that's set up there. And again, just the mangling of those towers, there was a lot of force. And this takes a lot of force to move this much soil in that short of time. And you can see that we're not seeing as much erosion going on, because look at that. I mean, you can just see the big gaping holes that have been carved out of the earth. That was a lot of water coming down at a very rapid rate. And now it's still coming down. You're still going to have some erosion, but that initial force must have been incredible as it broke, and seeing all the results of that and the damage that's been done by it. So again, yeah, we're looking at some pretty powerful forces at work here.
Okay, thank you so much, Dirk. And again, we are still working to get information about exactly what happened, why they saw the initial breach, and how much damage has subsequently been caused as that whole area has eroded away very quickly.
And again, it's not so much the water that's the danger right now, it's just the water that's created the damage with the mud flowing down the hillside there. And normally it's in a nice little tidy tunnel there, and that's what's used to move that water down safely, but they had a breach there, and we don't know why there was a pipe burst. We have no idea, but we do know that it was serious enough that people had to be rescued, people had to be evacuated that work there, and you can just see how steep it is there, and all of that dark mud that has come down at the end there and going into the Yuba River.
And of course, still thinking about the workers, the ones who would have been right on scene, very suddenly finding themselves in a major emergency. Again, we know that they were rescued. We know that there are no injuries, and other workers have been evacuated. Hey, Dirk, while we have you, as you're looking at all of this right now, and you know that we've got this big storm coming in, what would your concerns be?
My big concern was, first of all, how did this happen? Where's this water coming from? What's the source of the water? Where's it coming from? And so if we do get a lot of water, is that going to put an additional strain on what's holding back any additional water that they're going to try to probably dam up or stop again, the flow of what's coming through? So it's going to be going from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And right now it's flowing freely through that. And so what are they going to do at point A to stop that water from continuing to come down when we do get these storms that come through?
Well, and we don't know. Maybe this was a part of that huge improvement project that they started last September, and they said it was going to continue through February of 2026, and that there was going to be an increase in flows, and it's going to be more than their typical flows. But again, it says these bigger flows are going to continue through February 2026 while they were making the improvements to that 5-mile-long rock tunnel that they had, and then the 1-mile-long penstock that moved the water from Bullards Bar Reservoir to New Colgate Powerhouse for their hydropower generation. So we knew that was going on right now through the month of February. So who knows if that had anything to do with it, but we know that they were working on this. This was a whole project that they started last fall, and this was a really important project because they said this will be a significant change in the conditions for this stretch of the river, and that's why they wanted people to know about those increased flows. So it'll be really interesting when we do find out what caused everything to go wrong.
Absolutely, a critical part of that investigation. You may be wondering as well, when you have a disaster like this, a lot of different agencies agencies come into play. So in addition to the water experts, the engineers, and those types of responders who'd be really working on shoring up the massive problem that is continuing here, you also have the Sheriff's Department. They would be helping with the evacuations. You've got now utility crews who are trying to get in and restore power and shore up some of those damaged lines. So a lot of different agencies now teaming up to deal with this emergency.
Yeah, and they were doing this because this is a major maintenance. They called this major maintenance, and they said it's very infrequent, but it's really essential, they said, to ensure the longevity of this tunnel and the reliability of the Yuba Water Hydro operations. We'll continue to follow this. We'll have much more coming up on the KCRA 3 News at 5. Stay with us.